My name is Emily, I'm 27 years old, and I thought I had it all figured out. For most of my life, I believed in loyalty. I believed in love. I believed that the people closest to you, the ones who hold your secrets, your laughter, your fears, would never turn their back on you. I thought betrayal was something that only happened in movies or whispered stories about strangers on the internet. Until it happened to me. The night I discovered the truth, the world I thought I knew cracked wide open. The man I loved, the man I trusted with my heart, wasn't just lying to me. He was lying with someone else. And not just anyone, my best friend. The girl who had been by my side since high school. The one who held my hand through breakups, through finals, through every messy moment of growing up. She knew me better than anyone. And he knew how much she meant to me. Together, they took the two things I valued most, love and friendship, and they shattered both in a single strike. But here's the part they didn't expect. They thought I would break. They thought I would cry, scream, beg for answers, beg to be chosen. That's what people like them always expect. Because in their minds, betrayal is power. They believed they held all the cards. But they didn't know me as well as they thought. I didn't beg. I didn't scream. I didn't collapse. I smiled. Because in that moment, through the crushing weight of pain, I made a choice. Not to fight them directly. Not to play the victim. But to stay silent, patient, and calculated. I would let them have their little secret. I would let them think they were winning. And then, I would make sure they destroyed each other. This is not just a story about heartbreak. It's not just about betrayal. It's about what happens when two liars think they've outsmarted the truth, only to find that the truth was watching them the entire time. And if you think I sound cold, maybe I am. But coldness has a purpose. Coldness is what kept me calm while their world slowly unraveled. So let me tell you how it happened. How I went from being the girl who trusted too much to the woman who made sure two traitors tore themselves apart with their own hands. When people looked at us from the outside, they always said the same thing. You three are inseparable. And they were right. There was me, Emily. The steady one. The planner, the listener, the girl who always kept things running smoothly. Then there was Ryan, my boyfriend of 4 years. He wasn't just handsome, he was magnetic. The kind of man who could walk into a crowded room and immediately draw every eye without even trying. And finally, there was Jenna. My best friend since high school. She was the spark in every conversation, the wild laugh in every silence. Together, we were a perfect little triangle. We went to the same college parties, took road trips in Ryan's beat-up old Jeep, and spent lazy Sundays sprawled on the couch watching movies. To everyone else, it looked like we were a little family, young, carefree, untouchable. Ryan and I started dating in our junior year. Jenna had been the first one I told, calling her in the middle of the night just to gush about the way he kissed me, the way he held my hand like he'd never let go. She squealed with excitement, promised she'd never seen me so happy. She was the maid of honor I hadn't even asked yet, already planning the wedding I secretly daydreamed about. And for a while, it was perfect. Ryan was attentive, sweet in ways that made me blush. He left little notes in my textbooks, surprised me with coffee before morning classes, called just to hear my voice when he worked late. Jenna cheered us on from the sidelines, teasing me for blushing whenever Ryan looked at me across a crowded room. It felt safe. It felt permanent. But looking back now, I realized that even in those perfect moments, the cracks were forming. Tiny details I brushed aside because I didn't want to believe they meant anything. Like the way Ryan sometimes laughed harder at Jenna's jokes than mine. The way Jenna borrowed my clothes and always asked, "What does Ryan think of this?" as if his opinion mattered more than mine. Or the countless nights when we'd all hang out together, and I'd catch them sharing a glance, a little too long, a little too private. I told myself it was nothing. That I was imagining things. After all, Ryan loved me. Jenna loved me. And love, I thought, was enough. So I ignored the tiny alarm bells. I let the triangle stay intact. Because I couldn't imagine my world without either of them. If only I had known that one day, they would force me to choose. And that choice would shatter everything. At first, the signs were so small I convinced myself they didn't exist. Ryan started working late. At least, that's what he told me. Long nights at the office, meetings that ran over, deadlines that couldn't wait. I wanted to believe him, of course I did. I'd built my whole world on believing him. But the thing about lies is that they're never as smooth as the liar thinks. I'd lean in to hug him when he came home, and sometimes I'd catch the faintest trace of perfume. Not mine. Not Jenna's usual scent either, or so I thought. Something new, floral, clinging faintly to his shirt. Then there were the phone calls. He started turning his phone face down on the table, silencing notifications he once left buzzing without care. When I asked, he'd shrug. Just work. Clients don't know boundaries. His voice was casual, but his hand always gripped the phone a little too tightly. Jenna had changed too, though at the time I didn't connect the dots. She grew more secretive. She stopped gushing about her dating life the way she used to, stopped sharing every messy Tinder story, every awkward first date. Instead, when I asked, she'd smile vaguely and say, "Oh, nothing serious." But there was a glow about her. A quiet satisfaction that didn't come from nothing serious. I brushed it aside. Because to admit what my gut whispered would mean admitting the impossible, that the two people I trusted most might be betraying me together. Still, the unease built. One night, Ryan texted me, working late. "Don't wait up." I believed him, until I scrolled through Instagram an hour later and saw Jenna's story, just a quick boomerang of 2 wine glasses clinking at a bar across town. The background was dark, crowded, alive with music. And there, barely visible in the corner of the frame, was a hand. Ryan's hand. I stared at it until my chest tightened, until my throat burned. When I asked Jenna about it the next day, she laughed. "Oh, you saw that? Just some random guy who wouldn't stop buying drinks for me and my coworkers. Total creep." She rolled her eyes, perfectly casual. But she never mentioned Ryan. And Ryan, when I asked about his night, he sighed dramatically, told me the meeting had dragged on forever. He was exhausted. He hated his job. He needed me to understand. 2 stories. 2 lies. Both perfectly aligned. It should have been obvious then. But love makes you blind and friendship makes you deaf. You see only what you want to see. You hear only what you want to hear. So I swallowed the doubts. I told myself I was paranoid, insecure, dramatic. But deep down I knew. Something was wrong. And the truth was about to find me, whether I wanted it or not. The night I finally learned the truth didn't come with fireworks or screaming. It came quietly. Almost too quietly. Ryan had left his phone on the kitchen counter while he showered. Normally, I never touched it. I believed in trust, in privacy, in the idea that couples didn't need to snoop. But that night, a single vibration broke the silence, and something inside me pushed me forward. The message lit up the screen. "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was perfect." No name, just a heart emoji. My hands shook as I opened it. The conversation stretched back weeks. Late night plans. Secret jokes. Photos. And the name at the top of the thread. Jenna. It felt like the ground dropped out from under me. My stomach twisted, my throat tightened, and I couldn't breathe. Every suspicion I'd buried, every doubt I'd silenced, crashed down in sharp, undeniable clarity. There they were. My boyfriend. My best friend. Talking like lovers. Planning dinners, sneaking away, sharing the parts of themselves that were supposed to be mine. The worst part wasn't the intimacy of the messages. It was how ordinary they were. Complaints about work. Jokes about TV shows. The kind of everyday chatter Ryan once shared with me. Only now, it was hers. I closed the phone carefully, exactly as I had found it. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him as he stepped out of the shower, towel slung low on his hips, humming like nothing was wrong. Instead, I smiled. "Long day?" I asked, setting his dinner on the table. He kissed my cheek. "The longest." I nodded, watching the steam rise from the food, listening to him talk about meetings that never happened, deadlines that didn't exist. Every word was a lie. But I didn't let him see me break. Later that night, when he rolled over and fell asleep beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The weight of betrayal pressed down on my chest, but beneath it, something else began to grow. Not just anger. Not just grief. Clarity. Because in that moment, I understood something I hadn't before. I didn't need to expose them. I didn't need to scream, to demand answers, to give them the satisfaction of watching me shatter. No. I would stay quiet. I would stay patient. And I would wait. Because the truth had already destroyed me once. Now it was going to destroy them. I used to believe that betrayal came like a storm, sudden, violent, impossible to ignore. But the truth? Betrayal is quieter. It creeps in, steals the air from your lungs, and leaves you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m, wondering how the two people you trusted most could carve out pieces of you without leaving a sound. That night, I didn't sleep. Ryan lay beside me, breathing evenly, as if the lies hadn't left fingerprints all over his skin. His arm draped across me in the same familiar way it had for years. But instead of comfort, I felt poisoned. His touch no longer belonged to me, it belonged to her too. And that knowledge burned hotter than any nightmare ever could. I replayed everything in my mind. Jenna, laughing too loudly at his jokes. Ryan, defending her when I teased her about borrowing my clothes. The nights they both had other plans, leaving me alone while I convinced myself it was coincidence. It wasn't coincidence. It was choreography. And I had been the fool clapping in the audience, blind to the performance happening in front of me. I could have confronted them right then. I could have shaken Ryan awake, screamed Jenna's name, demanded explanations that would only be half-truths wrapped in apologies. But what good would that do? They'd deny it, twist it, make me question my sanity. And even if they admitted it, what then? Tears? Rage? A broken friendship, a broken relationship, and me left standing alone with nothing but ashes. No, that wasn't going to be my story. As the night stretched into dawn, a different thought settled into me, sharp and unyielding. If they could lie this easily, they could just as easily turn on each other. Their affair wasn't built on trust or loyalty, it was built on deceit. And lies don't hold forever. All I had to do was wait. I didn't need to destroy them. They would do it themselves. I just had to be there to watch it happen, to place the final mirror in front of their faces when the cracks became too deep to ignore. For the first time since I saw Jenna's name on Ryan's phone, I let myself smile. Not because I wasn't hurting. God, I was. Every breath ached, every thought cut like glass. But pain had given me something I never expected. Clarity. And with that clarity came a decision. I would not let betrayal make me small. I would not let their lies turn me into a victim. I would become silent, patient, cold. And in that silence, I would set the stage for them to tear each other apart. From that day forward, I became an actress. Every smile, every casual word, every brush of my hand against Ryan's arm was rehearsed. I didn't let him see the cracks. I didn't let Jenna hear the tremor in my voice. If they suspected I knew, their guard would rise. And I needed them unguarded. So I played my part. When Ryan said he had to work late, I kissed his cheek, wished him good luck, and went home to my quiet apartment. When Jenna claimed she was too tired to meet for our usual coffee dates, I texted back, "Get some rest, love you." They thought they were outsmarting me, weaving their little secret in the shadows. But in truth, I was the one pulling the strings now. I started documenting everything. Screenshots of texts, receipts I found in Ryan's jacket pockets, even the way Jenna's lipstick shades started appearing faintly on the collar of his shirts. Not for confrontation. Not yet. But because knowledge was power and I intended to have all of it. At the same time, I began planting seeds. Subtle comments, seemingly innocent. "Jenna, Ryan's been so distracted lately. Do you think he's okay?" I asked one afternoon. She froze for half a second before smiling too brightly. "Yeah, just stressed, I'm sure." Or with Ryan, "You know, Jenna's been acting kind of distant. I wonder if something's going on in her life." He looked away too quickly, mumbled something about work pressure. Every word was calculated. I wanted them paranoid. I wanted them second-guessing each other, wondering if I was noticing, if the other one was slipping. And then I gave them space. I stopped checking in so much. I stopped asking questions. I let them think they were free, that their secret was safe. The more comfortable they felt, the more reckless they became. One evening, I accidentally left my laptop open when Jenna came over. On the screen was nothing incriminating, just an email draft for a project at work. But the subject line? Trust issues. When the people closest to you betray you. I watched her face pale before she quickly looked away. Another time, Ryan mentioned a new client dinner. I smiled and said, perfect. Jenna and I can have a girls' night. His hand tightened on his glass just enough for me to notice. Piece by piece, I was turning their own guilt into a weapon. And all the while, I stayed calm. I laughed at their jokes. I hugged them when they pretended nothing was wrong. I even let Jenna borrow another one of my dresses, silently amused when I later saw a mirror selfie of her in it, Ryan's arm just barely visible in the corner. Because I knew something they didn't. They thought their secret bound them together. But really, it was a rope tightening around their throats. And I was the one holding the other end. The trick to revenge is patience. You can't push too hard, too fast. You have to let people destroy themselves while you gently guide their hands. My first move was small, almost invisible. One Friday night, Ryan told me he was going to meet the guys for drinks. I kissed him goodbye, waved him off like the supportive girlfriend he thought I still was. But when he left, I picked up my phone and texted Jenna. Hey, thinking of stopping by later. You free? A simple message. Casual. She replied too quickly. Sorry, super tired tonight. Rain check? I smiled. Because I already knew she wasn't tired. She was with him. So I waited. 2 hours later, I sent another text. No worries. Hope you're resting. Love you. And then, the next morning, I planted the first seed. Jenna, I said when we met for coffee, you didn't sound like yourself last night. I was worried. Ryan said you weren't at home when he left the guys' night. Everything okay? Her eyes widened. For a fraction of a second, panic flickered across her face. Then she forced a laugh. Oh, I went for a drive. Just needed to clear my head. I nodded sympathetically. I get that. Ryan said the same thing once. About needing space. I didn't accuse. I didn't press. I just left the words hanging in the air, vague but sharp enough to cut. The effect was immediate. That night, Ryan came home tense. Did you talk to Jenna today? He asked too casually. Yes, I said, sipping my tea. She seemed distracted. His jaw tightened. He didn't ask more, but I saw the doubt in his eyes. From then on, I kept weaving tiny threads of suspicion. With Jenna, I'd mention Ryan seemed withdrawn lately, like something was weighing on him. With Ryan, I'd casually note that Jenna had been distant, more secretive than usual. Neither of them accused the other. Not yet. But their eyes gave them away. Each glance carried questions they didn't dare ask out loud. And then I struck a little harder. I bought Ryan a new cologne for his birthday. Strong, distinctive. Something no one could mistake. A week later, I forgot it at Jenna's apartment after stopping by for wine. The next time I saw her, she smelled faintly of it. Not much, just enough to linger on her sweater. Later, when Ryan hugged her hello in front of me, his nose brushed her shoulder. His smile faltered. For a split second, I saw it, the flicker of doubt, the silent accusation he didn't dare voice. Perfect. Because what they didn't realize was this: love born in lies can't survive without trust. And I was dismantling their trust one subtle seed at a time. Doubt is like rust. It starts small, almost invisible, but once it spreads, it devours everything in its path. By now, I could see it eating away at both of them. Ryan became restless. He checked his phone too often, turned it face down whenever I was in the room. But when Jenna texted him, his expression wasn't excitement anymore, it was suspicion. And Jenna, she was cracking faster. Her smiles were brittle, her words clipped. She'd ask me little things like, did Ryan say anything about me? Or, he hasn't seemed himself lately, has he? I answered carefully, never lying outright, just twisting the truth enough to keep her unsettled. One evening, I stopped by Jenna's apartment. She poured us glasses of wine, trying too hard to act normal. I set my glass down and casually said, funny thing. Ryan came home late last night, but his shirt smelled like your perfume. Her hand froze midair. She blinked, forced a laugh. Oh, that's strange. I shrugged. Maybe it was my imagination. I let the silence hang heavy and uncomfortable. The next day, Ryan came home edgy, pacing like a caged animal. Finally, he blurted, "Jenna said you made some weird comment to her. About me smelling like her perfume." I tilted my head, feigning confusion. Did she? Huh. I must have been mistaken. I didn't mean anything by it. He stared at me, searching my face for answers I refused to give. Then he muttered, "She's overreacting." Perfect. They were already turning on each other. The tension only grew. At a mutual friend's party, I watched them from across the room. Ryan barely touched her. Jenna barely smiled. And when she slipped away to take a call, his eyes followed her, dark and suspicious. I seized the moment. Sliding up beside him, I said softly, "She's been secretive lately, hasn't she?" He glanced at me sharply, then looked away. He didn't answer, but his silence spoke louder than words. Later that night, Jenna cornered me in the bathroom, her voice low and urgent. "Do you think Ryan's hiding something? I can't shake the feeling he's different." I met her eyes in the mirror. "Sometimes when people lie, they forget who they've lied to," I said gently. "Eventually, it all unravels." Her face paled. I walked out before she could respond, leaving her with nothing but her spiraling thoughts. From then on, I barely had to lift a finger. They did the work themselves. Arguments over missed calls. Cold shoulders at gatherings. Whispered accusations they thought no one could hear. The affair that once burned with stolen passion now smoldered with mistrust. And I simply watched. Quiet. Patient. Satisfied. Because every secret they'd built their love upon was collapsing. And when the last lie fell, it wouldn't just bury them, it would expose everything. It didn't happen all at once. It was a slow burn, a series of sharp words, lingering silences, and little cracks that finally split wide open. By the time the breaking point came, they were already standing on a fault line. All I had to do was watch it collapse. It was a Saturday evening. We'd all been invited to a small gathering at a mutual friend's loft downtown. I wasn't planning to go at first, but then Ryan insisted. "Everyone will ask questions if we don't show," he said. I almost laughed. Questions were the least of his problems. When we arrived, Jenna was already there, sipping a glass of white wine, her dress too bright, her smile too forced. Ryan went to greet her, and I caught the stiff way her body tensed when he leaned in. They were already unraveling. The night dragged on. People laughed, music played, but under the surface, I could feel the tension crackling like static. Jenna's eyes darted constantly toward Ryan's phone. Ryan kept his distance, checking the time too often. And me? I floated between conversations, acting like the blissfully ignorant girlfriend. Until the moment came. Jenna excused herself to the balcony, claiming she needed fresh air. Ryan followed a few minutes later, too quickly, too obviously. I slipped outside after them, staying just behind the doorway, hidden in the shadows. "Why did you tell her I overreacted?" Jenna's voice was sharp, brittle. "I didn't." Ryan hissed back. "You're imagining things. You're always imagining things lately." Imagining. Her laugh was hollow. "You smelled like my perfume, Ryan. You smelled like me, and she noticed." "You're paranoid," he shot back. Maybe wanted her to notice. Her glass clinked hard against the railing. "Don't you dare twist this on me. You're the one lying. You can't even look me in the eye anymore." Ryan cursed under his breath. "This is insane. We're falling apart because you can't keep it together." "No, Ryan," she snapped. "We're falling apart because you never cared. I gave up everything to be with you, and you treat me like a mistake." Their voices rose, sharp enough that people inside started glancing toward the balcony. I pretended not to notice, sipping my drink, but every word was music to me. Jenna's voice cracked next. "Was it ever real? Or was I just convenient because she trusted us both?" Ryan's silence said more than words. She let out a bitter laugh. "That's what I thought." When they stormed back inside, faces tight and flushed, the room fell silent for just a moment. Then people went back to their chatter, pretending not to notice. But the damage was done. Everyone had seen. Everyone had heard enough. They avoided each other the rest of the night. Ryan sulked in a corner. Jenna pretended to be absorbed in a conversation she clearly wasn't following. And I smiled, thanked our host, and slipped out early. Because I knew what would happen next. Their secret affair wasn't a secret anymore, not to each other, not to the friends who whispered behind their hands. And once doubt turned public, there was no saving it. By the time the night ended, their fragile bond had cracked completely. And all I had done was stand back and let gravity do the rest. The beauty of revenge isn't in the planning. It isn't even in the waiting. It's in the reveal. By the time I set the stage, Ryan and Jenna were already fractured, hanging by a thread of denial. All I had to do was give that thread one sharp tug. And I chose the perfect moment. Amelia's birthday. She was our mutual friend, someone who knew us all since high school. Her parties were always big, dozens of people, food, drinks, laughter. The kind of night where secrets never stayed secret for long. I arrived early, gift in hand, smile in place. Ryan showed up later, Jenna trailing behind him like a shadow. They didn't stand close. Didn't laugh together. Their smiles were forced, their voices too sharp. Everyone noticed. Which was exactly what I wanted. Halfway through the night, I excused myself to grab something from my car. In reality, I slipped into the host's office. My little surprise was already cued on the TV, a slideshow I had prepared, disguised as a group photo montage from past birthdays. But in the middle of it, tucked carefully between smiling faces and cake-cutting candids, were screenshots. Ryan's texts to Jenna. Jenna's replies. Hotel receipts. Dinner reservations. Proof. When the slideshow started, people cheered at first, laughing at old photos. Then the room went quiet. Too quiet. The text glowed on the big screen for everyone to see. Can't wait to see you tonight. She thinks I'm working late. I wish she'd stop asking questions. I just want you. Hotel rooms booked. Same place as last time. The silence was deafening. Every head turned toward Ryan. Then to Jenna. Ryan's face drained of color. What the hell is this? He muttered, but his voice shook. Jenna's eyes flashed with fury. You told me no one would ever know. People gasped. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Amelia stood frozen, horrified, as the celebration for her birthday twisted into a spectacle. I stepped forward slowly, my expression calm. Funny, isn't it? The lies always catch up eventually. Ryan turned to me, his voice low, almost begging. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I cut in. You cheated on me with my best friend. Both of you thought I was blind. But I saw everything. And now? So does everyone else. The weight of silence pressed down, heavy and humiliating. Ryan's mask cracked first. She's the one who pushed me into it, he shouted, pointing at Jenna. She wouldn't leave me alone. She knew I loved you. Jenna's face twisted with rage. Don't you dare put this on me. You chased me, Ryan. You told me you were done with her, that you wanted me. You lied. Their voices rose, frantic, desperate. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the two of them clawed at each other with words sharper than knives. You're pathetic, Jenna spat. A coward hiding behind excuses. And you're nothing, Ryan snapped back. Just a cheap distraction. I never planned to stay with you. Gasps filled the room. Someone muttered, oh my God. I didn't need to say another word. They were doing all the work for me. By the time the shouting ended, their reputations were in shreds. Friends avoided their eyes. Amelia asked them both to leave. And they did separately, without a single glance back at each other. I stayed behind, sipping my drink, letting the whispers wash over me. Because that was the moment I'd been waiting for. Not just their betrayal exposed, but the sweet satisfaction of watching them destroy each other with their own words. And when I finally walked out into the cool night air, I felt lighter than I had in months. Ryan and Jenna had taken my trust. But I had taken everything they valued more, their pride, their secrets, and their illusions. And I hadn't lifted a finger. In the days after Amelia's party, the fallout spread like wildfire. Everyone had seen the truth projected on that big screen. There was no hiding, no twisting the story. Ryan and Jenna had been exposed, not by my words, but by their own. Ryan tried reaching out first. A string of texts lit up my phone the next morning. "We need to talk." "Please, I can explain. It was a mistake." "Then, don't throw away what we had. I'll do anything to fix this." I didn't respond. He wasn't my problem anymore. Jenna tried too. A short, shaky voicemail. "I'm sorry. I don't even know what to say. I messed up. I miss you." Her voice cracked at the end, but the guilt didn't move me. She'd made her choice long ago. Our friend group fractured. Some sided with me, horrified by the betrayal. Others stayed neutral, unwilling to get caught in the drama. But almost everyone pulled away from Ryan and Jenna. Trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to rebuild. Ryan's reputation at work suffered too. His boss had been at Amelia's party. Word got around. He was quietly passed over for a promotion he'd been bragging about for months. No one wanted a man who couldn't keep his personal life under control representing their company. Jenna didn't fare much better. She tried to keep up appearances, but people whispered. At gatherings, she stood alone more often than not. Her bright laugh had vanished, replaced by a thin, defensive smile. And the two of them? They didn't last. I heard they tried for a while, clinging to the wreckage of what they'd built. But it was poisoned from the start. Without secrecy, without the thrill of sneaking around, there was nothing left. They fought constantly, blaming each other for everything. Eventually, they broke up, bitter, resentful, and lonelier than before. As for me, I rebuilt. It wasn't easy. Betrayal leaves scars, ones no one else can see. But I poured my energy into myself, into the things and people that mattered. I reconnected with old friends I'd neglected, picked up hobbies I'd put aside, and learned how to stand steady on my own. One evening, months later, I sat on my balcony watching the sunset. The city lights blinked to life one by one. My phone buzzed with a message from Amelia. "Proud of you. You handled it better than anyone else could have." I smiled. Not because I needed validation, but because it reminded me I had survived. Ryan and Jenna had destroyed themselves. All I had done was step aside and let the truth breathe. And the truth was enough. Closure doesn't always come with apologies or second chances. Sometimes it comes with silence, the quiet peace of knowing you walked away with your dignity intact, while those who betrayed you tore themselves apart. That was my victory. That was my revenge.